anything about the experience on Temptation Island that you honestly learned that helps you now that it is showing up? Like, for me, it's real, but for you guys, it may not be. So my question is, that experience, which was crazy, how did that inform you? And did it teach you anything about you so that you could do this way?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. As much as some people may not think it's real, like obviously it's very real. And you come back to real life being like, okay, this is real life stuff I had to deal with. I think it just set me up that when I left, I was just so much better at being emotional or being vulnerable. I mean, we literally I cried way too much on TV and just felt all the feels. I wasn't for a while in real life. And so when I came back, I think I was more in tune with my emotions.
Okay, welcome to the podcast, Bonfire Talks with me, Mark Wahlberg, and my buddy Kaitlin.
Hello.
Producer is probably a better title, but buddy is what I'm hoping it turns even more into.
Both.
And I'm pretty excited about this episode. First of all, I hope you guys are doing well out there in podcast world. And another shout out, I just want to give a shout out because I don't get a lot of free stuff because I haven't made it to that level of influencing, but got these Olokai flip-flops. I'm just going to let you know, in the flip-flop world, you know how you get new flip-flops and then you have a blister in between your toes for a little while, and then you get used to them and they're great? Not with Olokai. Put them on, walk out, and it's like the swagger is built into the flip-flop. I literally walk with an island vibe when I put Olokai shoes on. So thank you for the free stuff, Olokai. And anybody else who's listening who has free stuff, I'm down. I'm down to have it. I'm excited about this episode. I have not one, but two guests.
Returning guest
by popular demand. So before I introduce them, I'm going to tell you why I wanted to have her back. I do this show. I don't know if you guys are aware. I do this dating show, Temptation Island. And people who haven't seen the show say, oh, my God, it's ruining lives and blah, 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 blah. And I think what is true for a lot of reality TV is that there is some truth in that it's a often dysfunctional situation. But one of the things that I love about the experience I've had on this show is that no matter how crazy it gets on the show, an uncanny number of people who have been on the show, when they enter into their next relationship, it becomes a forever relationship. And that blows my mind. Now, I don't think the show has anything to do with it. Maybe it does, but my guest can shed some light. Joining me again, coming back to the show with happy news, is Kaitlin Tufts. Kaitlin, you may remember from season 5. Season 5? No.
Season 5.
No. Yes, season 5. Of Temptation Island. She came on the show as our first engaged couple, and that didn't go as planned. Matter of fact, it went horribly awry. But what we saw on the show, what we really loved. Hi, Kaitlin. Hi. First of all, hi. And there's a guy next to her, Neil. I kind of wanted to roll this out in a way, but I'm not doing it so well. So Kaitlin came on as an engaged couple. That didn't work out great. Or did it? And that's the point I'm getting at. That in the moment, things that are painful, that's why I always say growing pains, not growing comfort. Shit goes down that you're like, why is this happening to me? But then when you look back at that moment 6 months later, you kind of go, oh, I get why this happened to me. And the case is true, not just for you, Kaitlin, but for your former fiancé, to some degree, as best as I can tell through Instagram, that the next thing turned out to be a thing. So let's not talk about that, but let's talk about you. Introduce me to the handsome bearded man next to you.
The handsome bearded man, Neil, is my fiancé.
Get out. When I saw this on Instagram, I I just cheered. And then I saw the ring, and I'm like, what the fuck? Can we see it? Is it on your hand? Yeah, that's not a ring. That's not a ring.
I know.
That's like it's like a planet, is what that is. So Kaitlin Tufts is the CEO and the owner of Jane Do. Is that right? Jane Do, which is
Jane Do, yeah.
Jane Do. Oh, Jesus Christ. Jane Do. JaneDo.com is where you can find it. Is that right?
Yep.
So I just want to get that plug in before we get into the talking, because you've started this empire, this fitness and empowerment from a female's perspective mostly. I think it's mostly that because of Jane Do. And it's really remarkable to watch that growth. But what I wanted to talk to you about is you're engaged now. You've met Neil. Hi, Neil. I don't know anything about you. I don't know what you do for a living. I don't know how either of you can afford a diamond that is worth more than my house. And I don't really care, but I do want to know how you met. And
Sure.
then I want to talk a little deeper. So how did you meet?
You want to take it?
Yeah.
So I own a bar here in Charleston, and one of my bartenders is a client of Caitlin's. So at the time, you guys were doing your, I guess, premiere show, and she's like, "Hey, we should do a watch party at the bar. We'll invite Caitlin and all of her friends to do it." So that's how we met.
So the show did it. The show did it.
It essentially did.
It was Temptation Island.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, at the time, Neil was not single. So I just met him as like the bar owner.
Got it.
But
Yes.
yeah.
But
I think
obviously, caught my eye.
I think that's a beautiful thing, by the way, is that there's no possibility for a relationship, it takes all the drama out of the relationship. And then you go, I can't date him, and I can't date her, and so let's just get to know each other, and chemistry or whatever, the vibe is with the vibe. So you seem very happy, Caitlin.
Yes, very.
And I'm so glad that the two of you have found one another. And you were dating for how long before you got engaged?
8 months.
8 months.
It's legit. It's legit.
8 months.
I understand the timeline could implicate people, so I don't want to get anybody.
No, I'm just saying 8 months, 8 years. It's just very different.
I understand. Oh, yeah. From your last relationship. But what I want to talk about, and you may say none, but I want to ask you what you learned about you, or what you guys have discussed, if anything, that made this different, this relationship. Let me frame it better. I was just recently talking to some people who are going through some relationship problems, and it may or may not have been happening on TV, but I can't say that. And I was saying that your definition of love, and I said this to you on the show, our definition of the word love changes. So in middle school, we're like, I'm in love. And then by lunch, we're out of love, right? High school, you're like, you fall in love and you're like, oh, that wasn't love. This is love. And then that goes. And then you get into your adult life and you're like, oh, wait, it's much weightier than that. Being in love is this. And I keep coaching on the show and in life to people, before you can find the thing, you have to define what that is. You have to define what a healthy love relationship is. So what was the journey you went on from where you were to where you are today, as best you can tell me?
I think the biggest thing, obviously, I took a lot away from the show and coming back and focusing on myself and out of such a long relationship to be like, what the heck do I want and need and all the things. So when I met Neil, it was like just like kind of what we talked about on the show, like that you can have it all. You can be supported. You can work all day, every day and focus on your career. And he's like the most supportive person, which like right off the bat, he was like, you want to do this? Hell yeah, let's do this. Which I just obviously didn't get in my last relationship. But I kind of knew, oh, this is very different. And like, he's like very team, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was just the dynamic right out the gate was kind of like, whoa. Which is obviously very attractive and like kind of what I was like, oh my God, I'm so ready for this. So I feel like that was the biggest thing when we first started dating, that I was like, just obviously attraction and everything else was there, but I was like, I don't know what he's going to think about my career and my work ethic.
You know, it's
Because I was obviously
interesting.
happy.
I have a friend, Tanya Rad, who is on Ryan Seacrest's radio show, and she has the great podcast with Becca Tilley, Scrubbing In with Becca and Tanya. Do you know that one? Becca was on The Bachelor. Anyway, when I met her, she was saying, I can't seem to get this love thing together, and there's no way it's going to happen because I have to be at work at 4 a.m. and I work all these hours and my travel, and it's never going to happen. And I'm like, yeah, that's not true. And now she's engaged and so in love, right? And there's a bigger conversation. If I can ever get her to come on the podcast, we'll talk about what we talked about. But I think oftentimes we acquiesce to what we think is possible. We limit what's possible by what we say can't happen. So you're surprised in having Neil go, I'm all about your career. And that doesn't diminish our time or anything like that. So, I mean, Neil, can you speak to that a little bit about how that all kind of reconciles for you?
Sure. And I think everyone's different, but for me, I find a drive and a work ethic a very attractive thing. Maybe it's something I aspire myself to have more of. I don't know, but I just found it very attractive in her.
I think, just feeling you through this Zoom, which sounds as creepy as it actually is. But I think when a person is complete, this is what I always talk about in a relationship. When you're complete, it gives room for grace for the other person. So you supporting her career isn't taking anything away from you. In other words, what happens in a dysfunctional situation where you feel, Caitlin, that you can't soar is that the other person's like, but if you do that, I don't get blah, 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 blah. I can't have this if you're going to do that. And I'm always saying, that's why people say, well, we don't live in the same place. I'm like, yeah, if you say so, it doesn't work. Or you can say, if it's supposed to, it's going to happen. It's just, and so you being a place, Neil, I just want to acknowledge, now that we're best friends, that you being a place that you're so in your skin enough to say, look, soar. It's not mutually exclusive. You flying doesn't mean I can't. I hate that you froze at this moment. Oh, there you go. You're back. Or maybe you're frozen or just holding still. I don't know. I can't tell. Are you there?
Right.
Yeah. There you go. So I think that's a real testament to you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
You're frozen for a second.
Yeah, no, I know. I agree. I mean, I would say, no lie here. I'm 10 years older than Kaitlin. So, I am a little bit more comfortable, or at least I am now than I'd say I was 10 years ago. So, and I think, she's got an entrepreneurial spirit like I do. So we sit down, we just chop up and just talk her business, my business. It's all, to me, it's
partnership.
Yeah. It's a good learning experience for both of us. And I just admire her spirit for it. And she talks about things and dreams that I think are so cool and things I don't think of. And it's just, I don't think that she has this drive. It doesn't turn me off in the least. It's quite the opposite for me.
It's not a challenge to you. It's not challenging you. In other words, it doesn't put you on the defensive. Caitlin, what else have you learned that is going to make this relationship so different? It already feels so different to me.
It feels so different. Yeah, very different. I've learned a lot. I've learned that, everyone's like, what are the wedding plans already? And I'm just kind of like, no, my best friend's getting married at the end of the year. Like, let's get, live our best life at the end of the year. And then we can focus on what we want as a couple and not necessarily like what one of us wants more than the other. We have to agree on, that. And I feel like, I feel like Neil's a great idea guy. We just work so well together, and like I'll present like an idea to him, and it's just more of like a partnership. So I've just learned a lot.
How do you
can't have it all?
How do you? Yes, you can have it all. You can have it all if you're willing to have. Having it all is actually. Let's play that out. Having it all means you have all of it, which means you have all the good stuff, all the juicy, delicious, and you also have all the bad stuff too. and how you deal with that in the having it all concept is the difference between relationships that make it and don't. So what's your communication style like when, I don't know, in 8 months of bliss and diamonds and bars and workouts and health and perfect skin and great hair, that you have strife, but what, if anything, is different in how you guys deal with life when it shows up, or your worst version showing up for the other person? How's that communication with you guys?
It's just, we're good at communicating, which I feel like I never used to be. And I would like maybe bury things until it exploded. But like something happens, like say like in the beginning of a relationship, there's a few things that like, you know, he's been through a lot of relationships that weren't necessarily the best. And, you know, I have my stuff. So like, there was a lot in the beginning that I feel like I was like, lay it on the table and we can like talk about it. I don't think we've ever really like fought. It's just more of a conversation than like, I don't know, than just feeling like I have to like bury it to be like, well, I don't want him to think I'm nuts, or like, I don't know. It's just, the communication is so different.
That's really, really powerful.
Yeah, I think we were both, sorry to cut you off. No, I think we were both very open with things that we had been through right off the bat. I mean, no offense to anyone. I didn't watch the show. I haven't watched.
This meeting is over.
so she kind of told me, you know, things that happened on it, you know, to kind of keep me, or just to be, you know, upfront and honest. And I told her things about me right off the rip. And I just, to me, as long as we have each other's back at the worst times, which we're going to see those like anyone in a relationship, as long as you have each other's back, I think to me, that's all that matters.
Well, here's what I'm observing from what, and if I can tell you what I heard, it may not be what you said, but what I heard, Caitlin, and what you're saying. By the way, Neil, really astute what you just said. But
Nice.
where couples are successful, in my opinion, is when you feel, you said, I don't have to put on a front, I don't have to be anything, I can just say it, right? And the thing that I'm constantly telling people is, I often find single women, especially, that say, you know, I'm dating this guy. It's great. It's been 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's been a month. It's been 2 months. When do I get to be me? Like, when do I get to stop pretending that I love to watch football on Saturdays and, you know, I wear my hair in a ponytail and a hoodie because he likes it and all that? When do I get to be that girl? And when it's right, you don't ever put on an air. You get to be all of your things. You get to, and it goes back to the truth I constantly say, which is that all we really want is to be seen and heard. I don't need your approval. I just want to know you see me. And that means you get to see all of me, even the me I don't prepare for the world, that I don't spin for others. So what to feel like, Caitlin, and to be seen and feel safe to be just who you are.
No, it's amazing. And I feel like I know it's fast and I know it's a lot, but like, I think since our first date, like laying it on the line, I was like, okay, he can run, or, you know, like the way he took all, I was like, this is my life and this is how I am. And at that point, I'm like, I was dating last time I talked to you, and then I met Neil, and like I was dating in general. So I learned a lot, and I kind of was like, this is me, take it or leave it. And like, he's the same because he's been through multiple relationships, but like, so it feels amazing just to be like, I just did that, and now this person's like even more fully in. So
isn't it the sexiest thing in the world is to be the thing you thought you needed to hide from the other? All right, let me see if I can say it right. Be the thing that you wouldn't let anyone else see because it's broken or ugly, or you have a feeling about it, and the other person still be there. Isn't that the sexiest thing in the world? I think it kind of is.
Seen it all.
Because I hope you guys are listening. These are jewels coming out of you. This is exactly the thing, is that there is no way to survive in a relationship if we are performatively in it. If we're showing same thing on TV. If you're going to spin and try to control what your image is on TV, we're going to call bullshit. If you're going to spin and control the parts of the real you that you show your partner and hide the other stuff, first of all, you're not hiding anything. and you're not being respectful to your partner. And describe, if you can, Neil or Caitlin, how it feels to be emotionally naked in front of your partner and that not have them run. Like, what is that feeling like compared to other times in your life?
Yeah, I know. I think that's very well said. I mean, I could tell you that. I mean, I got out of a relationship not too long before Caitlin and I got together, and I don't feel that I was the same person in that relationship. And I thought that it was a great relationship through, periods. But when I met her, and I just felt I've never been more, I don't know, it just feels so much more healthy and loving. And when you can be yourself, I think that's the best thing in the world, and have someone appreciate it.
Imagine how much energy we spend not being ourselves, that when we
Correct.
get to be ourselves, the breeziness of that is worth the ego part that you have to give up. You know what I mean, Caitlin?
Yeah.
I mean,
I was trying to keep the peace, and now it's like, nope, there's no fake anything. There's no hiding anything. Like, yeah, it just feels so different.
and then that energy that you were subconsciously, I'm going to put myself in the same boat. The energy it takes to manage a persona out of fear of what the other person might think if I showed the real me is both a delusion, because the other person knows exactly what you're hiding, and it's an incredible amount of energy and effort that leaves you feeling shitty. And when you get to not do that, then you can create a business and have laughs and not sweat things.
Literally.
Yeah. By the way, I love that you only scratch your nose with the diamond hand. So that we get to see that.
I know. I'm still getting used to it.
Yeah, well, you're going to get carpal tunnel is what you're going to get from that one. So anyway, I'm really happy about that. I don't want to look, what you've learned and how this is manifested just brings me joy. And this is a chronic sign of codependence, where you come on a TV show and I host the show, and then we have this moment, and then you go on in life and I don't let go. Like, I'm literally watching your Instagram going, I think she's okay. And, stuff like that. So know that it's real joy for me. Like, real joy.
I know. I need to come visit you guys. We'll make a trip out.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I miss you guys.
Well, please come out. So let me just ask, because I wonder about this. Anything about the experience on Temptation Island that you honestly learned that helps you now, that it is showing up? Like, for me, it's real, but for you guys, it may not be. So my question is, that experience, which was crazy, how did that inform you? And did it teach you anything about you so that you could do this way?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. As much as some people may not think it's real, like, obviously it's very real. And you come back to real life being like, okay, this is real life stuff I had to deal with. I think it just set me up that when I left, I was just so much better at being emotional or being vulnerable. I mean, we literally, like, I cried way too much on TV and just felt all the feels. I wasn't for a while in real life. And so when I came back, I think I was more in tune with my emotions and being open with someone and not being scared to be like, this is me. So when I started dating in Charleston and dating again, I was like obviously nervous because I've been dating so long, but I kind of, just laid it on the line. So obviously through the experience, through all the bonfires and all the chats that we talked until I probably ended up crying.
Yeah.
But no, I learned a lot. And I think it definitely helped me like realize emotions and not be scared of them, to be honest.
That's really, I'm glad you said that for me. I needed to hear that.
No.
I think I underestimate the fear of having emotion, being scared that you're emotional. Neil, I don't know anything about your background, but you seem like like an emotionally intelligent kind of guy. Like you're open to the conversation. You know, like I hate to use the word intimacy because it means sex to people, but I mean the intimacy of conversation and the exploration of that. What's your take on that? Do you have a philosophy around that?
I don't. I mean, not that I'm some serial dater by any means, but I'm 43 and I've, dated enough through my life, and I've gone through good relationships, bad relationships. And I think I have, whether I felt it at that time, I feel like I've landed upon somewhere I'm at now in my life that I feel very comfortable in my skin, and I feel that I'm probably more emotionally vulnerable than I've ever been at this point. So I don't know. Whatever's gotten me to this point, it might have been painful, but I feel I couldn't be happier right now. So I guess I would do it all over again if the aches and pains and everything, if it got me here.
That's really wise. I'm constantly saying life is just life just is. Life just is. And it's sort of obnoxious to say, but I say, and it's just ising everywhere. It's just ising. It's not wasing. It's not gonna being. It's ising, right? And then we look at life as it's happening to us, or we can look at it as it's happening for us. The fact is, life doesn't give a fuck whether you think it's to you or for you. It's just doing. But that's to say that all those relationships before today, even if you have anger, upset, resentment, or fear, or, dysfunction in them, there is a level of grace where you can say, thank you, even to the ones that you may not feel great about, but thank you, because where you are today has to be because of that.
Yeah.
Right.
You either learned something or it toughened you up or something, to get you where you're at. It may not feel like it at the time, but when you look back, just like anything, you may laugh or say, hey, I learned from that and I got me to where I'm at. So at least that's how I feel about it.
I agree 100%. It's not only what they did in my life that I had to go through, and now this is this, but I also look back at it as who was I in those situations as well. Even when it appears that I was a victim, or I was doing it right and the other person was doing it wrong, or their behavior was atrocious and I was a victim there. The truth is, and Caitlin, we've talked about this, I think, on the show, and I can't tell what's on and off the show anymore, but I always say that what shows up for us is often a mirror of what we're either not paying attention to or unwilling to admit to. And then the relationship we're in is certainly, this side of the street has something to do with it, but we also have a role and a responsibility in it creating dysfunction or function. And we can't, it'd be really awesome if we came out of the womb and just went, soulmate, know how to do this. We're great. We can talk about it. Love is love and let's go. But I found, for me, it's just not that easy. You got to crash and burn a few times to then have it calibrated at the level where it matters. And so for that, you got to thank even the ones we called failures,
Mm-hmm.
Basically talking to you, Caitlin. But there's room for grace and forgiveness and stuff when you look at it that way, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's well put. And I like that you may feel that someone was doing something to you, but you played a role in that too. So it goes both ways.
And it's your choice to say either fuck you, I didn't deserve this, or what can I learn and what was my role? And so that when the next one comes, it's different and better. So, all right. So what's the timeline for you two knuckleheads? Not that I'm a big believer in timelines or plans, but.
No, what I took from my last thing, no timeline for me. So no really set timeline. Obviously we want to do it when everyone can be available and be there to celebrate. I have a lot of friends who are pregnant, getting married, like, families are kind of
Happening.
maybe moving here, there. So I think we're gonna wait till next year and figure it out.
This is also really important. This is dad hat I'm putting on right now. When you're 43, so it's a little bit past that season. I'm not sure how old you are, Caitlin. You look 18, but you're a little older than that. It's a trap, I think, for a lot of young couples because there is this rhythm. We date, we get engaged, we get married, we buy the house, we get the kid, blah, 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 blah. And that's a trap of compare and despair, right? That we think if we don't do this by this time, this blah, 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 that we've missed a boat or whatever. And so I'm glad to hear you saying you're not putting that in a box. What matters is today you love one another, today you've agreed to be together, and that you are having the conversations that keep that healthy. And when you want to make it official, you make it official. And when you want to do something else, you do something else. There's no rules. There's just no rules. And everything around us makes us feel like there are rules and expectations. That's a trap. That said, if I'm not invited, I'm going to be so pissed.
You'll be invited.
I mean, that was sort of the reason why I had you back on, is I figured if I have you on again, then Neil will go, well, we have to invite him, but what table do we put him at? And you can put me at the shittiest table. I don't care.
You're top of the short list.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks. You sound like my agent right now. You're not getting the gig, but you're top of the short list. So what's your day-to-day like, you guys? How is this relationship manifesting in the real world? Which the real world, I think, sometimes conspires against us being successful in love. So how is what's your day-to-day? Because you're working your ass off over there, Kaitlin.
Yeah, I mean, so I feel like time's flying because we've been traveling, and I actually bought a house, but it was like a few months ago, so I didn't even know he had a ring, and so I think he was like, are you sure you want to buy a house? What are we doing? And so there's a lot of moving parts, and I know it's only been 8 months, but so I did buy a house, and then he proposed. So I feel like our day-to-day in Charleston has been like, obviously we work all day, but we still have time to travel and have fun. He owns Frontier Lounge, so let me plug it real quick in Charleston. If you are in Charleston,
that explains why every time I see you, you're at Frontier Lounge.
I love it that people are still like, I love that you love this bar. And I was like, well, my fiance owns it. And they're like, that makes so much more sense. I was like, yeah. I literally live there. But so his bar is right down the street from my studio. And then, our houses are right downtown. So we're very much stay in our bubble downtown Charleston.
Are you in downtown Charleston?
Yeah.
I am so jealous.
It's really.
I can tell you a funny romantic story about Charleston with my wife. I don't know if I told you this last time. Did I tell you about the trip we took, my wife and I, to Charleston?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. So I love Charleston. I'm from South Carolina. And so we were in California. We had our first kid, and he was months old. So we were going back to South Carolina to see my mom and do that whole thing. So we're staying at my mom's house, and as soon as we got there, we dropped our son off, like literally without care. I'm like, we can't do this. We're going away for the weekend. And so I booked a romantic getaway for Robbie and I in Charleston. I rented a car that to me at the time was like, this could have been a Maybach. It was a Volvo sedan. But to me, I was like, oh my God, look at this luxury vehicle. And we drove down to Charleston, and I booked an overnight at the Battery Carriage House, which I'm sure is still there. It's been there for 300 years. It might be there for now.
Yeah.
So Battery Carriage House, for those of you watching, is a bed and breakfast right on the Battery in Charleston, downtown, and is historic and beautiful and all that. So I booked it, and I'm pretty proud. And, we had no money, so this was like a big deal. And we pull up in the Volvo, and I'm just flexing as hard as I can. Like, look, babe, we've got you hooked up. And so as we're getting out of the car, in Charleston, they had the horse-drawn carriages with tourists. So they're coming by, and I can hear the guy giving the this is the Battery, and this is da-da-da, and all these houses. And now we're coming up to the historic and famous Battery Carriage House. And of course, my chest puffs up like, yeah, that's where we're staying. And the guy's going, this is one of the most prestigious bed and breakfasts in Charleston. And it's so many famous people have stayed here. And as we're walking in, I'm like, dude, I am just as though I'd written the script to have him say this. But as we barely can hear him, as he trots off, he says, it's also one of the most well-documented haunted houses in America. I'm like, well, fuck me. This was supposed to be romantic. And now we're panicked. And now we walk in.
I'm gonna be up all night.
And we go to check in, and the woman there, thick Charlestonian accent, and we go to check in. I'm, Mark Wahlberg is my wife, and he's like, oh, we've been expecting you. We're so glad to have you. And I said, as we were walking in, the tour guy was saying this thing, I'm sure for the tourists, about how this is the most well-documented haunted house in America, and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, yeah, they love to say that. Yeah, that's one of the favorite things. I'm like, he says, and it's true. And I'm like, holy shit. So it's true? She said, oh, yeah, we see ghosts all the time. I'm like, oh. So now we go to our room, which is beautiful, but it's literally like if Walt Disney made a haunted bedroom, like the lace, kind of like it had a dumbwaiter. So there's a door with an elevator, like we don't know what's coming in through that door. And it looks into a courtyard that's like, if I were a ghost, that's where I'd want to have tea kind of thing. So rather than it being this romantic, finally we got rid of the baby, let's go, have sex in a hotel room and everything's going to be great. There's no TV either in the room because it's Battery Carriage House. And we literally laid in bed with our eyes wide open for the whole night. Just like, when do we get to leave? So that was sort of a crash and burn on my part. And that's my loving memory of Charleston. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to come back and try another spot.
Yeah, maybe.
TripAdvisor plummeting.
Yeah. By the way, Battery Carriage House is great. We didn't see any ghosts. So, if you want to invite me back, I'm happy to come. But we were scared. Okay. So there was a question I wanted to ask you guys before I say goodbye to you about your relationship. I want to remember it was something I was very excited about to ask you. I can't remember, so it must not be that important. I'm happy you found each other. I immediately, when I saw that you were engaged, I immediately wanted to have you back on here because I really do think, I don't think it's the show, but I think the lesson for others is the crisis you're in, the relationship you're crying over, or the relationship you were in that you're crying over now. There's so many examples of we need these to learn how to be in the healthy one. We need these rehearsals for us to figure out who we are and then to find the person that can see us. Right? So think about this, Kaitlin, that while you're going through what seems to be, drama and sadness and pain and all this stuff for God knows how long, did you ever consider that? Well, you never could in the moment. But I find it interesting to think that while that's going on, someone else is going through their own shit as though there's a design for you guys to be ready for each other. Like that you both have to go through these separate alternative lives of whatever so that by design, you're ready. Robbie always used to say to friends of ours, Robbie's my wife, Neil. Caitlin knows, but you're new. And Robbie would always say to people, well, your man's out there. He's just getting ready for you. He's learning how to be your man,
That's good.
Yeah. So I think there's some truth to that. So anything else that you feel like you can impart for all of our love searching friends out here?
Oh gosh.
How does it feel?
No,
Let's just say, how does it feel to be at this level now?
I mean, it was questionable if I'd ever get here, that's for sure. But I think my biggest asked question is do I ever have regrets from the show? And if I've learned anything, it's that I have no regrets because I wouldn't be here, my biggest, and I'm not just praising you, which I do praise you and Robbie all the time. But I think my biggest I wouldn't, I mean, where would I be if it wasn't for the show, to be honest? And that's what I always think about. And I'm like, dating might have been a little scary. And I still have girlfriends who may still be single in the city that are just like, I'm never going to find that person. But it's like when you're not expecting it, and that when you finally make your way to find someone who's been through their own like lessons and all the things, that it's going to happen, you know? But it's like, it really is when you like least expect it. Because when I met him, I was like, oh, he's taken. Next, like.
But
So, yeah.
that was also perfect because it lowers the bar to just like, well, I don't have to worry about that because it's not going to happen. I remember when the night I met my wife, I was working at this restaurant as a now it's coming up every time too.
Yeah.
As a singing waiter. Just let that land for you for a moment.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's you know. But every night we get this audience coming in. I can remember they would hold them behind the doors, and we'd have to get ready because we'd kind of sing them in, and it was a whole thing. And I would think to myself, is she out there? Is she out there? And then finally, I'm like, fuck it. She's never coming, and there is no she. I quit. This is what I said to Tanya Rad is just the concept of quitting a job that no one asked you to work. So the job of looking for someone, I quit. I'm like, I'm not looking anymore. I'm done. Matter of fact, I don't want her to come. Like, that's where I'm at. And that's the night she walks in the door. And then lightning strikes, and you're like, okay, well, there's the rest of my life. And I was not just not looking, I was adamantly denying it. Like, I don't want this. And so I think that there's something that you guys have said that is absolutely true, is that when you are working on you without any concern about what anyone in your life cares, you know, their opinion of you. We don't live in the opinion of others. I think we spend a lot of time there. But when we get that we don't live there and we just do us, like you do you, and then someone sees you and is like, yeah, I like that. That's different than me going, let me pitch me to you.
Yeah.
You know, let me pitch the parts of me that I think you'll buy. And then later you'll see I'm actually fucked up. But you'll buy this part for a minute, right? And I think both of you, what I'm hearing you say is you're both in a place where you're like, I'm done with this.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I think so much of life is just kind of in this gray area that's not maybe the most exciting things that are happening. You're just living your normal life. So if you can be yourself in that time period, find someone that appreciates that person, that speaks volumes, and it just feels more real.
Well, and it feels real. You're right. It's not getting people to like the things that we like about ourselves. Well, that's fucking easy.
Yeah.
Showing the parts that we think aren't great and the other person going, I'm down. You know, I'm down for that. That's when our shoulders drop and we're like, I'm home, I guess. That you become each other's home. I'm going to now cry for you because that's how it feels to me. So anyway, let this episode be me saying to you how happy I am for the two of you and to take care of this thing. And I really, Caitlin, I adore you. You're just a sweet powerhouse of empowered woman and empowering women on a daily basis. And then after they're all empowered, they go to Frontier Lounge and drink. So that I notice is a pattern. So that's great. So anyway, Neil, really great to get to know you. And as always, you guys, as you go from this point forward, if there's any way I can be of support or service in any way as a game show host, I'm always available to you. And I'll just sit and wait till you pick a date.
You'll be the first to know. We'll give you and Robbie a call.
Okay. I'm just saying. And anyway, thanks for coming on, you guys. And I wish you the best. And Caitlin does too, because Caitlin is pretending he's not a romantic, but I know in his heart he really is.
Thank you for having
me?
us.
I'm talking about you, Caitlin, not Caitlin. I'm talking about
okay,
Caitlin.
I was getting the names confused.
I'm talking about you as you sat there quietly in your thoughts over there. All right, you guys, be well. And best. Jane Do check out Jane Do. Jane Do. God damn it. Jane Do, because it's playing on Jane Doe. Jane Do is Caitlin's business. It's great. It's a physical mind, body, spirit thing. Mostly getting your body in great shape. And you're an example of that. And then if you're in Charleston, Frontier Lounge, where I will go and expect free drinks for an entire night.
Of course.
Wow.
Yeah.
Of course.
Thank you.
Live music and free drinks.
That's
So
right.
let us know when you're in town.
I got new flip-flops, and I got a place to go get free drinks. So things are looking good for me. All right, you guys. All my love.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next week.